Hello and welcome to the Excel VBA object series. In this video we'll continue working with the range object and we'll see how to find and replace values in a range and how to sort and filter a range with Excel VBA. So let's go to the Visual Basic Editor and let's first talk about find. Whenever we need to find values within a range, we can use several methods. We have seen already some of the different options. We can, for example, loop through the range and get the value and compare it to what we're looking for. Or, well, there are some other possibilities, but the find method of the range object is probably the best way to do it. So, for example, if we want to find a particular home team here in column C, we would use the find method and assign that to a variable. That variable, let's call it target team. It's going to be declared as a range. Then we would say target team, and target team is going to be a range. It's going to be a cell where that team is located. Equals range, and in this case is column C, so C through C. But that could be any other range. And of course that applies to the active sheet. If we want to refer to another sheet, then we have to specify here which sheet we are referring to, sheet 1, sheet 2, or worksheets and the name of the sheet, etc., as we have covered in previous videos. Now we will use the find method, and as you see, it accepts several attributes. So the first one is what we are finding. In this case, we are looking for the team Mallorca in the Spanish league. Now let's say we want to know when Mallorca played, and the date is in column A, so we would say show me in a message box Mallorca played on, and we're gonna get the target team dot offset in the same row, 2 columns to the left, dot value. So if we run this macro, we're gonna get the date when Mallorca played. It has found, using the find method, we found Mallorca in the list, and then we got the date in column A. And of course we could have got any other information, which team did it play against, or the score, etc. Now let's see another example. The find method is very powerful and allows to, for example, specify if we want to search by rows, by columns, or if we want to look at the next value or the previous value, and so on. So let's see, for example, that we want to find the next match that Mallorca played. So let me highlight that in some other colors. So this is the first game here, and if we go down here, Mallorca played again the following week, and we want to know, we want to get this value, and we want to see what was the score, the final time score. It's here, for example. So we would do that, and we are actually going to use the same code here. So let me copy paste that. But now I'm going to go back to find. As you see, when we add the parentheses, we get here the different options or the different attributes. So, and we can put that in a separate line here, as we've seen earlier. So what we want to find is the name of the team is here, comma, and in the next line we're gonna see after range C5, and I'm adding this manually, but we could add here the range, this target team or target range that we got in the previous macro, and comma, and then we could add any other attribute in the same way. We don't really need to add. Look in is by default looking for values, but we could look for formulas, comments, and so on. So we don't really need to add this one because by default is values, but I just wanted to show how easy it is to add each parameter. And for example, let's say we want to show in a message box that Mallorca played next against, and And here we can get the name of the opponent. So that would be the target team range or cell. That's actually the target cell. Dot offset 0 for rows and 1 plus 1 for columns is going to be the next column. So it's going to say which team was the opponent. So if I run this macro now, you see it says Mallorca played next against Espanyol. And now let's see how to replace values in a range. And here I have a simple list with customer names, user ID, and some access permissions. And let's say the customer Digimedia, it has a new name, it has been updated. We need to replace that in this list. So if we want to replace this value in range A2, we just write range A2 replace. And as you see again, here we have a list of the possible parameters. So what we want to replace, Digimedia, and comma, what's going to be the replacement. So let's say now this company is called MediaNet. Now if I run this macro, as you see, it has changed already. But, well, we may want to change it for the whole column, for the whole list. In that case, of course, we just change here range AA. And if we use the parameter, so what is going to be Digimedia, let's continue in the next line, replacement, it's going to be MediaNet, comma, and then as you see here, there are other options. We can also specify the search order, the search format or replace format. The match case is very interesting because, again, it can help differentiate between uppercase, lowercase. So let's say we want to replace those that are exactly the same. So first letter capitalized, or in this case, we have 2 capital letters there. So let's say we only want to have those with the 2 letters capitalized, the D and the M, yeah, in Digimedia. So that would be then match case set to true. And then in that case, if we change, for example, here, and we have a lowercase m, and we run the macro, it's going to change all of the other, but not this one, because it doesn't match the case for each letter. So if we set that to false and we run it again, now it changes everything. Now let's see how to sort values in a range. And for that, I have another example here. Let's say we want to sort the values here by alphabetical order. That's something we would easily do in Excel using these options here on the right. And to do that with Excel VBA, let's go back to the Visual Basic Editor, and I'm going to put another module for this, and I will say range sort sorting, something like that. And again here we refer to the range we want to sort, and in this case it's going to be the whole range, A1 through K21. Sort, and again here you see there are several attributes, and the first thing we need is the key, and there is a key 1, a key 2, and a key 3. We're going to see that in a moment, but let's start with key 1. So the key is the value in that table, or the header, or the column. In this case, it's going to be column A, so range A1. So we want to sort based on the team, comma. Then we're going to have here the, as you see here, the order 1 again, and there are 2 options, ascending or descending. Yeah, so we're going to do it ascending. And our table has headers, so we're going to say header is yes. We can select yes, no, or guess. Yeah, we can let Excel guess if we have headers. If we choose guess, it will probably identify that we have a header. Yeah, oops, I put here key. That's key 1. So if we run it, as you see, it has sorted the table alphabetically. Now, we may want to sort by different values. And for example, if we didn't have this position column here, and we want, let me hide it actually, and we want to sort the table by the leading team in column A, and in football, that's measured with the points, and the goal difference, so it's based actually on several columns. So if we want to do that, we're gonna actually use the same range, and we're gonna sort. Now the key one is gonna be range, and let's say we're gonna sort by points. Yeah, so the team with more points is up in the table, and that's column I. And the order is again going to be ascending. Then let's continue in the next slide with key 2. So whenever the teams have the same number of points, and you see there are several teams here with 10 points, for example, here, here. In that case, it's going to sort by, let's say, goal difference. And that would be then range H1. And order 2 is also going to be ascending. And we could even add, another key. So we can have up to 3 keys. But I think you follow, you see how that works. So now if we run this one, and oops, I forgot to say we have headers, and you see what happens. Okay, we should have actually done it in a descending order. Yeah, that was my mistake. So if we do it in a descending order, let's not forget to say header, yes, and run the macro. We're gonna have, and well, it's not completely accurate, but yeah, that's how that works. Okay, and now let's see how to use filter options programmatically with Excel VBA. And for that, I have another example here, and it's again football results. And let's say we want to filter and see all the games where Valencia is playing home. So that would be this one, and all of the other, yeah? Just a normal filter option that we would do in Excel, go into data, switching on the filter, and so on. So to do that in VBA, let's go back to the Visual Basic Editor. I'm gonna put that in another module here. I'll call it range filter. And to do that, we need to, again, this is a method of the range object. So we need to specify the range, and we can say from A1 through, and this is quite a big table, so we could actually use the current region. We've talked about it in a previous video. And now here we're going to use auto filter. And again, here you see we have several attributes, several parameters. The first one is the field, and the field is the column. So we're going to actually filter by column C, and that's the third column. So field is 3. And the criteria one is going to be Valencia. So if we run that, as you see, it has already filtered all the games where Valencia is playing home. The criteria can also be a number, and if we don't unfilter, and we'll see how to do that in a moment, but if we keep with the filter data that we have now, and we change now the criteria, let's say we want to see the games where Valencia score more than 2 goals. So we can do that simply by going to now is field 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the criteria now is that we have more than 2 goals. So if we run the macro now, you see it filters only the values where Valencia score more than 2 goals. Now we can unfilter or show all data simply by accessing that method, and that's a method of the worksheet object. So if we reference the sheet where we have the data, and this is sheet 4, we can just use show all data, you see that here, to unfilter everything. So let me comment this, and if I run now the macro, we have the whole data again. Now we want to see the games for Valencia and also for Barcelona. So then we would use, and again we're gonna use the current region to get the whole table with data. And now we auto filter by field 3 and criteria 1, that's going to be Valencia. And criteria 2, that's going to be Barcelona. But when we use both criteria, we need to specify what's the operator. So the operator in this case, it could be, well, you see, there are different options. We are actually going to use or. So either Valencia or Barcelona. So if we just comment all the other things and run the macro now, you see it has filtered the games where either Valencia or Barcelona is the home team. You can keep adding and filtering others. So now again, as we did earlier, if we want to just get the games where the score is higher than 2, we would just put it after. So if we run this, or let me just show all the data. If we run this again now, it will first filter by column C, so field 3. And then next, it will filter by field 7 when the score is greater than 2. So you see now we have only those games for Valencia and Barcelona where they score more than 2 goals. And then you can show all data again and filter and repeat that as many times as you need. So that's how we filter data in a range using macros, and we've also seen how to sort the values in a range and how to find and replace values in a range. We've covered a lot of things about the range object in the last 4 videos. In the next video of this series, we will move on to some other VBA object. Thanks for watching.